My name's Shaun Wallace. I work at Brown University. I'm also a part-time graduate student. That partially explains where this experiment came from. We were charged with coming up with a personal informatics experiment, and I was highly motivated because I'm getting married on May 29th, and I'm under the, thank you. I have the pressure of trying to lose weight for the wedding, which is not a fun experience. So I'm like, why don't I kill two birds with one stone and make a study around that struggle? So basically what I'm trying to do is figure out what food and drinks am I sensitive to? And if I'm sensitive to any of these food or drinks, does that affect my overall well-being or productivity in any way? So how I start off is I start with low reactivity foods. I would introduce one new food each day, and if I gain weight or experience a symptom, say a headache, bloating, diarrhea, all those things none of us want to experience, that could indicate a sensitivity or reactivity. So most people, if they ever talk about this, they'll probably follow some type of this type of situation. And yes, it is painful to go through this. So my goal was to conduct a rigorous N=1 experiment. The study revolves around my health, my well-being, weight loss. In terms of finding my conclusion, it relies heavily on correlation statistics, and that comprises tons of data points. In terms of how I actually ran it, it was over 28 days, February 27th to March 27th. Some basic rules: I only ate till I was full. I did not exercise at all, except for walking to class or to a grocery store. Water intake was extremely important because I didn't want my weight change to be due to water. So I would wait in the morning, alcohol drinks, minutes of activity, all those would add up to find out, that it was equal and I was fine and I wasn't actually losing the weight because of water changes. This leads to my first hypothesis, which is sensitivity and reactivity to foods can cause certain weight changes. Also, hypothesis 2 revolves around the exact same relationship, but in terms of my mood, stress, energy, and how my body feels. And all four of those are, subjective measures that comprise my overall well-being. My independent variable was one new food each day. I kept a comprehensive food and drink journal. I wrote down everything that I had. The baseline for foods were all based upon being 5% or less reactive. That data was based on 10,000 studies from a nutritionist from New York. My dependent variable was obviously my weight change going up and down, and that was comparison from the night before to the morning after. My next dependent variable is my overall well-being, was just my own subjective score of stress, mood, energy, and body from 0 to 9, and I tracked that 3 times a day. Other variables I tracked just to make sure that they weren't the things causing my weight change or my overall well-being was productivity, work, school, what I did for the wedding, music, social life, relaxation, how many times I woke up, the amount of alcohol drinks I had, coffee, tea. So the first phase, I get to have whatever I want. That kind of informs what I have during the other phases. These are just some basic statistics. Since it was only over 3 days, these are kind of all over the place, but this is kind of what I wanted, because I wanted to see what was causing these weight changes. And the second phase was when I was introduced one new food each day. And the first day was kind of a day to let my body recover. Phase 2, this is the same as phase A1. I get to do whatever I want. This had a massive correlation between weight change and reactivity. A lot of that, as I will get to later, is due to over drinking. And B2, the last part was where I was testing more reactive foods because I got over the things that had less chance, and that's where I was really experiencing big shifts in weight due to introducing foods that didn't agree with my body. The overall results point to that my weight change correlated very much to reactivity. My overall well-being, not so much. Productivity had absolutely no relation to reactivity whatsoever. So this is my overall change of weight throughout the study. Between my max weight and min weight, I lost 10 pounds, which was awesome. But it was all over the place as soon as you got into the second half of the study. That line of linear regression that fits really well, that's when I was I didn't have any reactive foods for 10 days in a row, and I was just gradually losing weight. I performed a chi-square test to kind of see, hey, does my weight change based upon my positive and negative weight I had, and this goes again with mean weight. So it shows that even though I did lose weight on days where I was non-reactive, there were still some days I gained weight just because your body naturally fluctuates. So in terms of sensitivity and all the measures of well-being, nothing really correlated that much, only my body more so, but that's kind of an obvious conclusion because obviously if I'm sensitive to something, I could suffer bloating or headaches or all these various different measures. And here I went through and I looked at the means and the effect sizes. So obviously my body and reactivity had a large effect size. Nothing else really had a large effect size with it. So a really important thing was like, hey, did anything else affect my well-being or my weight change? The only thing that really correlated to anything else was relaxation and productivity. My productivity was a little bit down in the evenings when I relaxed, but that's obvious. Biggest conclusion that I found is that when I had more than 5 drinks of alcohol, I suffered massive weight changes. Massive weight changes. If I had less than 5, didn't matter. And I actually tested alcohol one day just by itself. I tested wine one day, tested beer. I was perfectly fine. I was losing weight drinking 2 glasses of wine and having chocolate every day. So as you can see here, it's just an absolute massive gap. Not a huge difference in well-being here. So you're wondering what foods was I bad with? Shrimp, which had an 85% chance. Tomato sauce had an 85% chance. Parsnips had less than 5, so I don't know how that happened, but I had bad bloating with that. It was terrible. Cheese, that was bad too. So in the effect of the 4 reactive foods that I had, they still related to my weight change, but not as much as the alcohol intake. So, but my rate of weight change was only negative 0.1 pounds per day, where otherwise when I didn't have them, I was losing 0.74 pounds a day. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. My stress, that was, how did I manage it or how did I record it then? I just subjectively measured it just based upon how I felt during the day. I also recorded I had a journal along with that being like, hey, my stress score was really high because I sat in traffic for an hour this morning. But it was merely just a purely subjective thing. And part of that, what felt okay to me was a lot of this was about self-reflection, especially those scores to me. I tried to find some ways to measure that a bit better, but I didn't find anything in the short amount of time I had to, start up this experiment and plan everything.
So the question related to my health.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way to test stress, which is by measuring the saliva, testing some kind of stress hormones in the saliva.
Oh.
Now, firstly, about the calorie intake.
Mm-hmm.
Do you monitor that at all in the system?
No, I did not monitor calorie intake. In terms of the foods I had, it was very much balanced between like 33% protein, 33% carbs, 33% fat, lots of healthy fats like avocados, olive oil, coconut oil. In terms of the calories, I did not measure them. I just ate slowly and only ate till I was full. I just listened to my body. And in the food journal, presentation was a little short, so I couldn't show all of that. A lot of the days was just the exact same foods. And like I was eating the same types of cereal, the same amounts, whether I tested reactive that day or not.
What if a certain food makes you eat more calories? It's hypothetical, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
For example, alcohol, obviously, there's a lot of calories in there too.
Mm-hmm.
That could be leading to the weight gain.
True. When I tested not only 1, 2, 3, 4 drinks, I also tested 6, 7. So if you notice the date range, St. Patrick's Day was in there. So I actually planned part of the study around St. Patrick's Day. So but there was this massive change once I hit once I went over 5 drinks. I know for that it's going to be different for everyone. That probably does have some effect on it though.
What foods did you remove that you attribute to the weight loss?
In terms of comparing what I had to my normal diet, I live in like a little town that has about 20 restaurants within walking distance, so I eat out a lot. That might be a contributing factor. In terms of those foods that are up there that I would have all the time, I would have cheese all the time, normally. Tend to avoid things with tomatoes to begin with, and I would have shrimp all the time. Those are very, very common things in my diet. So I've actually performed a similar experiment, just not as rigorous before, and had extremely similar effects. So that might be some bias that I knew going into this that I was probably going to lose weight, but I didn't know other foods I was reactive to.
Learn something from this that you've kept up with over the last couple months and what that's been like?
The biggest thing was actually the alcohol intake. I'm somebody, I love to drink. I love to come home and have a bottle of wine. And ever since I did this, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just have 2 glasses. I can still relax, still good, but I'm not going overboard. I didn't know I was bad with shrimp. I would eat cheese all the time. I cut those out. And since then, I just genuinely feel better.
You were talking about that you got the reactivity data from a nutritionist's data set. Do you know what those measures of reactivity were that the percentage chance were based on?
They were based on weight changes of more than 0.5 pounds. And then also the same just kind of subjective measures of how your body feels. Like, did you experience like a headache or some type of pain or something right after? Like when I had the tomato sauce, literally 30 minutes afterwards, like I have acid reflux, like 30 minutes after having that, I could taste it in my mouth and it was awful. And I knew right then I was bad with it. And the next day I gained, I think, 1.7 pounds.
All right, last question. Actually, in just basically water retention now. The weight fluctuation. If you retain more water in your body, period, that can be a benefit. Cannot measure easily.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of measuring the actual water retention, I don't know entirely how to do that. That's why I was so intense on calculating how much water I should drink every day. I drank it down to an exact ounce that took as many variables as I could into account from, number of alcoholic drinks, number of the minutes of activity, which was all due to just walking. And that was pretty much the best I could do. I also took into account that you do get some water from the food you drink as well.
Thank you.